pulling off Honor Harrington, she, from what I've experienced as a science fiction reader, she is absolutely groundbreaking in the fact that she's the only female protagonist in a science fiction series I've ever seen who gets hurt, and who is hurt permanently. It seems that we always like to treat women in whatever as, oh, they're really untouchable. You know, you can break their arm and they'll recover, but you can't really hurt them permanently, or you can't emotionally scar them permanently. And I have to say that I really applaud that, the fact that you don't treat her like the damsel in distress ever.
You know, I just never want her to meet me in a dark alley somewhere. She's really going to have a few bones to pick with me.
She did at that time.
Remember, she has a pulsar in her head.
Yeah, in her head.
We were at a con, and one of the members of the con committee was a marriage counselor. So there was this Chinese young woman who had come in uniform as Honor. So we did a counseling session between David Weber and Honor Harrington. And she's like, he killed Paul just to increase readership. You know, he doesn't worry about what happens to me and all. I'm like, see, it's all about her. About two-thirds of the way through, Sharon stands up in the back of the room and says, "You stay away from my husband, you brazen hussy." Yeah, it was fun.
My husband has a mistress.
Inside his head.
But I had to say that I write military science fiction, military fiction. And one of the things that you have to be careful of when you write military fiction is you have to be careful about respecting the need to not pasteurize it, not to make it, okay, only the bad guys get killed, the good guys don't pay a price, not to sanitize what happens. And that's one of the reasons why Honor and other people around her get hurt permanently. I mean, you know, you've got what Mercedes has been through after she was on the crew of the destroyer that was captured. So there's a lot of folks. I mean, Avar's Terekhov is in some ways even more damaged than Honor was when you first meet him, and you just have to, you find out what's going on. Honor's reaction to Paul's death, okay, the fact that she basically had a complete breakdown, okay. And then you're looking at an Honor who now will tell Hamish, "I don't care if the Queen is waiting for us. I'm not going to the palace till I hug our daughter." Okay? Screw protocol, more or less. The real breakthrough for Honor in that respect was with the guy who didn't want to investigate her flag lieutenant's death as him being compelled to act against his will. And when she realizes he's not even open to that opportunity, she relieves him. And he says, "You're not in my chain of command." She says, "I don't care. Let me explain something to you. You know, if I need to, I will talk to your boss. I'll talk to Admiral Gibbons. I will talk to the First Space Lord. And I'll talk to the Queen. But one way or the other, you are out of here." Okay. And that's Honor finally grown up in that respect.
Well, to me, that's one of the strengths of your writing. Mm-hmm. Your characters are people. They may be heroic, but they're people.
They try to be, yeah.
And, they have bad days and good days. Shit happens to them, and then it drags through
Honor's
for a long
perfect,
time.
though. She's never made a mistake.
Oh, God. I get people who tell me that, and the problem is that smart people make smart mistakes.
Oh, certainly.
Okay. Okay. Here's one of my favorite examples. Okay, they're breaking her out of the brig. Okay, on the Tepish. Okay. And all of her staff officers and all but one of her armsmen have been killed getting her as far as the elevators. And she knows that Alistair McKeon is holding the boat bay. And she knows darn well that Alistair's not going to go until he's absolutely sure she's dead or she's there. And her beloved armsman goes down in the hall in front of her. Okay. She should press the damn button. Okay, it's her responsibility. There's all the people down below who are waiting for her, everything else. And what does she do? Instead, she runs out into the crossfire, damn near gets killed, which would have gotten everybody killed. Okay? And everybody says, Honor never makes mistakes. No. I'm going like, no, because the author likes her. She survives the mistake. Yeah. Okay. The admiral who she has basically put under arrest, who's saying we need to send the ship back, he's right and she's wrong. And the reason that she won't send it back is that she knows that they'll send somebody to drag her home, whether they get all these other people out or not. And so she's like, no. And that's why I have Mike Hinkey in the later book critique her battle plan as Cerberus and say, if it wasn't the most reckless, go for broke, all or nothing plan ever created, I've yet to find the one which is. And Honor goes, that's fair. At the end of the day. But no, she's perfect. She doesn't make mistakes. She shot a prisoner of war out of hand without a trial. She missed, but only because somebody knocked her hand aside at the last minute. And the problem is that they don't think she makes mistakes because they make the mistakes they want her to make. Okay? Well, of course that's what she should do. Okay? And in many cases, it's what Honor Harrington should do, but it's not what Admiral Harrington or Stedholder Harrington or Captain Harrington should be doing.
Well, guys, we've got time for one more question.
Okay.
And then I'm going to ask David one more question, and then we're going to be done.
All right. So could you talk about the creative process, about how you go into a character? I'm always stricken by how the characters are so inhabited. They, having been in the military, I understand how military people talk to each other in the shorthand and the joking that goes on, say, in the foxhole. And you inhabit that world so deeply. I feel like I'm on the battleship. I feel like I'm in the command suite. How do you creatively get into that place?
Yes, how do you do that, dear?
I don't really know. I think that what happens for me is that when I develop the character, okay, it's like if you really know someone well, okay, then you got a pretty good idea how they're going to react in a given situation. Okay, and so what I do is I create a character who has certain attributes and certain background data. I know where this character came from. I know what the elements that built this character were. And then I let the character tell me, how I'm going to say this or whatever. And I know that's a very incomplete explanation, but...
Like Allie resigning. Like Allie resigning.
Yeah. Well, that's what she had to do.
Yeah.
And so, and that's really...
Never having been on a battleship and in the middle of a battle, how do you write those scenes and understand the rapidity of what's going on in there and the language and the shorthand between the characters as they're going through all of that? How do you create that? How do you go there?
I can only say that I'll be 65 this year, and I got interested in history and in military and diplomatic history in the 5th grade. So I've read a bunch of history, and I have a bunch of friends and family who are military or ex-military. And I've done...
you have a ton of books. I mean, you have a ton of research that you've collected over the years.
And it's... I don't consciously think through a lot of it when I'm writing it. Now, when I'm editing, I go back, and that's when I consciously think about, how does this sound like this character or whatever. 99.9% of the time it does. Okay, where I'm more likely to make changes is in narrative than in dialogue when I'm editing. But the characters, I guess the best way that I can put it is that when I create the character, I also give the character leave to be the character. Okay? And sometimes to do things that I never would have thought that that character would do. And then
He's
that
talked
worked."
about before that I needed a character to do something and they wouldn't do it. And what do you mean the character wouldn't do it? Because it was just not in whatever
character.
their matrix. It wasn't in there. And he's had to restructure entire plot lines at times
Yep.
because the characters are telling him, no, that's not how this story goes.
The relationships that they've built won't let me go over here with it. Okay? And frequently I'm waiting to find out how these characters are going to interrelate in the end.
He comes into dinner, he's like, let me tell you what I worked on the last 5.5 hours. Okay. Guess what? This is not, and then he's off. And it's like, 4.5 hours later, we're still sitting here going, okay, dear, we've finished dinner. Can we all go now? Because the kids are sitting here just kind of going. But he gets wrapped up in the story himself. So it's kind of fascinating to watch sometimes. From
Yeah,
the outside.
kind of like a train wreck. Yeah. They're fascinating too.
Well, we have got exactly 5 minutes left, so we're going to end this with the one question I like to end any interview I do with somebody with. What is the one question you wish I'd asked that you'd like to answer?
I don't know. I got to tell you that after 25 years of answering questions, there are very few that haven't been asked at some point.
Your son won the
Challenge
soccer
accepted.
game, by the way.
Oh, they did my son when he soccer
Soccer
game.
too.
That was good.
But he didn't play golf.
Oh, okay. I don't know, Jerry.
You stumped it.
Well, I'm just, what question would I like to be asked?
Yeah, is there anything you'd like to, I guess we can end it, if you don't know of a question you'd like to answer, is there anything you want to say to
Oh,
everybody?
well, okay, that's different.
We'll never get out of here.
No, I would,
Yeah.
No,
Please don't get him wound up.
Yes. Yeah.
No, I would just like to say that if you look at a David Weber hero or heroine, and you look at what their defining characteristic is, the one thing that every single one of them has in common is that they are responsibility takers. And that, to me, is a critical aspect of the human condition, is to take responsibility. Honor doesn't come in and say, well, I didn't create this mess. Okay, she says, I'm here, I can do something about it, therefore it's my job to do something about it. That's pretty much true. I mean, God knows that Bazel tried and tried not to become a champion of Tominate, but in the end, he couldn't help it. And I would say that may very well be the reason why my characters resonate with readers the way they do, because that's what we wish we saw more of in our own lives and in the world about us. I think that what makes my books work in some respects is that people aspire to leadership, to people in their own lives who take that kind of responsibility, who care that much for the people around them, who invest themselves in the people around them. And what they're seeing in the stories is a vicarious confirmation that there really can be people like that out there. And I've known people like that. The problem is they tend to get lost in the underbrush, and what we see are the people who don't have that attitude. So I think probably that would be the number one element, I think, that goes into making a successful David Weber character. And if you'll notice, most of the villains, the real villains, have the reverse. And I'll say this too. I think another thing that makes it work is that there are good guys on both